Hi, for the second Future Here interview, I had the chance to talk to Dr. Youhong Nancy Guo. Nancy is a postdoctoral researcher at MIT who was chosen by Forbes on their list of 30 under 30 in Science North America 2023. In short, Dr. Guo's research is focused on developing polymer materials for applications in energy and environmental sustainability. I personally found her work through an article describing their research on super-absorbent polymer hydrogels. That may sound like a mouthful. Basically, this can enable capturing clean drinkable water directly from the air, an invention that could provide drinkable water to millions of people living in arid areas. Recently, Nancy's research paper on sustainable moisture harvesting was selected as one of Nature's most downloaded Nature Communications articles in Chemistry and Materials Science, published in 2022. I'm really happy to have you on the show, Nancy. So let's jump right into it. So first of all, could you tell me a bit about your background and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody, and thanks, Joe, for inviting me here. So, I am a postdoc associate at MIT, and I did my PhD in University of Texas with Professor Guihua Yu, and I'm working on functional hydrogels for water purification and also carbon capture.
Great. And could you tell a bit about your background and how you originally became interested in science?
When I was young, I think science coming from our daily life. So there's a lot of, stuff going around us. It's based on science. So when I was young, that I always smell that other people's house, like, if you stand outside of other people's house, when they cook, you smell it. It smells really good. But whenever I stayed at my own home, I don't smell the same way as, how my mom cooked that. So like, I know it's the ranch food, but like, why the ranch food does this way to suck out the smell? I mean, you just have to ask why. You have to be curious about the things. So like, I feel like, okay, yeah, because the fan, it's actually moving and then create a negative pressure, so it makes the gas going outside. And there's a lot of things. If you go outside by a balloon, it actually flies onto the top of the floor. But if you make your balloons by yourself by just blowing it's not gonna happen. It will just stay on the ground. It's just because the balloon you buy from outside, they put different gases, and the gas has a different density. So I think there's a lot of details around us that's based on science. And if you are really curious and pay attention to all the details, you will find science. It's like everywhere, and then you have to, you cannot ignore it. It's the thing that exists, and it helps you to build your better daily life, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. And did you have a family member or some kind of idol when you were young that inspired you to pursue a career in science?
Yeah, my father is it's also he is a professor working in fluids, which is how water and gas flows. Actually, he inspired me to work on science. And then when I was at home, he is working on something, and he likes to teach me how the things works. So I guess this helped me along that when every time I ask why, and he will tell me why.
So kind of when you were curious, you also found some answers.
There will be a person helping you, like, or direct you to do some like simple experiment,
Yeah. That sounds
But
really exciting. Great. And specifically jumping into more your substance field or domain expertise, then could you please describe your research on these super absorbent gels that suck moisture out of the air and then you can condense this into drinkable water, right?
so if you think about how many times, you casually open the tap to get fresh water, then can you imagine that, there's place that without clean water? This means like no fresh water to drink, no showers, and no flushing toilets. And, at places, there it's worse that the disease outbreaks and agricultural drought will accomplish with the water crisis. So, and then this is how, actually, this is the reality for over 2 billion people in the world. So a lot of research effort has focused on seawater desalination and purification of river water and wastewater, which is also what I did most of my PhD work. But however, those technologies really rely on the places that near ocean or water or big water bodies.
Okay.
And so, in fact, there are additional water resource in the air, the moisture. It's estimated to be more than 10,000 cubic kilometer in. So I think this is definitely a water resource that we cannot ignore. So in this super absorbent gel work, we aim to develop this gel that can collect the water from the air, and regardless of the locations or climate conditions. So without either or dry or a humid place. So to achieve this, we designed porous polymer gels mixed with salts, and it's actually interesting that this material that we use in this work are renewable biomass. It's called glucomannan and cellulose, and they form porous polymer gels that are with large surface area for rapid capture of large amount of water in the air. And it's actually interesting that the salts, it's when we inspire, I got inspired by the kitchen stuff. So the glucomannan is actually a dietary fiber, and cellulose is it's anywhere like in the tree or in the plants. And then salts is okay. So our gel actually can be used with sodium chloride, which is the salt we're actually eating, because I found this material in my kitchen that's actually get from powders to chunks if you leave it outside for a longer time. And then this really inspired us that the salts and fiber powders, if it can absorb the moisture in the air. And then we got inspired by the daily life science, and then build up this hydrogel to absorb the water in the air. And then actually it's the performance it's great, and then it can be used in a very dry place like desert, and I also with optimization you can also use in the humid areas. There's no limited for the condition like climate condition. And also what I just introduced, the structure that based on this gel really enlarge the surface area, and then it can speed the kinetics, which is speed the process of absorbing the moisture, and with increase the water uptake from the salts. So it's a really nice composite that's inspired by daily life.
Yeah, it sounds very promising. And how did you originally come across? Was there some previous research regarding this, or how did you even come across this topic or idea for your research?
I think what I just mentioned, that our my PhD group with Professor, we aimed to develop hydrogel-based material to overcome the global water shortage. And our previous work mainly focused on the seawater desalination, wastewater treatment, and water disinfection. And then we see the moisture as also, a source that we cannot be overlooked. And it can be an alternative solution for water scarcity. And then it's not depending, regardless of the location. So based on, I think based on our understanding and also the past experience on providing or designing hydrogel material, we designed this particular material for capturing water moisture in the air.
The Gizmodo article through which I found you mentioned your Professor Guihua Yu, who mentioned that your invention could allow millions of people without consistent access to drinking water to have simple water generating devices at home that they could easily operate. And I saw one of these images in your research paper, and it doesn't seem to take a lot of space, for example. It's a pretty simple mechanical or technical setup at the end of the day. So could you just kind of tell the audience about the practical real-world applications that you envision could grow out of your research in the future?
So I think one major advantage is our gel. It is really easy to make. So you just have to mix the powder with water together and do a simple freeze drying process, and then it's done. And then so it depends on the mold you're using. You can make it to different shape, different thickness, and and also the freeze drying process. It's quite simple. That how you eat freeze dried fruit, freeze dried strawberries, like that. You just use the same setup, and then you do it with the hydrogel, and then after freeze drying, the gel is ready to use. No extra step. That's it. And
amazing.
So like it depends on the mold. I mean, you can make it this big and this small. It's scalable, definitely scalable. And then also the material is based on, I just said, it's based on biomass. It's basically dietary fibers and cellulose, which you can buy anywhere from Amazon, from different website, and it's cheap actually. So I guess right now, I think Professor Yu's group are actually optimizing further to make it more suitable for different, devices, to because different on the purpose. You want to have like a small device for personal use, or some places they want to make a bigger field, like larger space. So it really, if you want to collect the water, you need to think about engineering, not just materials.
Exactly.
So right now, I think they're optimizing towards different purpose right now.
What kind of future do you envision for this type of technology in, say, the next 5 to 10 or then 20 to 50 years? Do you think that we will see real-world applications on, as you mentioned, consumer-sized or family-sized devices, or then industrial-sized application in arid areas where it's very dry?
So I think in near future, the practical atmosphere water harvesting device will be definitely implemented at both community scale or household scale, especially in the dry areas such as desert. And those devices will be able to operate many hours every day to produce a considerable amount of clean water to support people's daily lives. Some of my colleagues already wanted to start, look for a startup on this, on similar similar
technology. Yeah, sounds like
technology.
exciting time for your team. And just to walk the audience through the numbers, I read about the size of the matter or the gel and the output of the water. Could you just discuss and explain what kind of masses of the actual gel is needed for, say, 10 liters of water, and what kind of scale you're currently testing the invention?
In terms of, like 1 kilogram of gel, you can make it to scale up into a multi-layered sorbent bed or, vertical sorbent arrays. And in this way, we can improve its compactness and it won't take a lot of space.
Understandably, that sounds really promising.
Yeah, if you want to just spread out 1 kilogram, it's gonna take larger space. But I just said that we need engineering to make it work more efficient and better.
Understandably.
And
Great.
then also there's the one important thing is that we absorb the moisture in the air, and also we need to let it release. So currently, based on this work, we applied a mild heating, which is about 60 degrees, and this degree can be easily achieved if we add a solar absorber in the gel, which can be powered by solar energy. And also, some places say like it's a cloud day and it doesn't have a rain. I mean, it doesn't have a sun. Then you can use electricity to power it up. And also, I think in Professor Yu's group, they're also working on something that it can release the water without any energy consumption.
Okay.
So and then this can be based on some phase change material and also like a polymers that can release water based on phase change.
Okay.
Different. I mean, we had the cellulose in this material that's based on the phase change, which is quite helpful in our system in this case, because if you compare to other materials that published recently, they really require high energy, like over 100 degrees to release the water. I mean, but I think our gel can be like around 60 or even 50 degrees. So it's already like already cut the temperature down to like half of the normal material.
Exactly, which naturally decreases the need of energy for
it will require less energy. And also I just said it can be incorporated with solar absorber, which can be powered by solar light to achieve 60 degrees. So it shouldn't be a big problem. Yeah.
Great. And could you explain us what that phase change of materials means in layman's terms that could potentially require no input of energy to then turn that sucked water back into liquid water?
Think about hydrogels have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic functional groups. So hydrophilic is water-like and hydrophobic is water-hit. So if a hydrogel has both hydrophilic and hydrophobic functional group, now once you increase the temperature until it's a certain point, that a hydrophobic functional group will gradually attach to each other or move close to each other, and then the water will just be pushed away easily.
Kind of, it almost repels the water from the material itself.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then when you lower the temperature down to room temperature, it will just be like relax, and all the hydrophilic group will appear, and then to absorb the moisture in the air. Yeah.
Okay, and the water will condense into liquid form in some container where it is
Yeah.
condensed. Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
I understand the principle. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and how would you describe then the next steps, what your team's research on this matter will be? What are you kind of pondering about the research that you need to research next?
So they're going to work on something that helps to release the water more easy compared to the current version. So no any electricity required. And then also they are going to optimize the material um to have a better durability over time, maybe like 3 months and half year. And also other thing is we need to optimize the material to meet different requirements. Like we wanted to build a multi-layer sorbent, we need a thinner pieces with different layers. But if we wanted to have a vertical sorbent layers, we need to design or make gels with different shapes. It really depends on the purpose of doing this. But definitely they're gonna continue work on this. Mhm. And then
Great.
for me, recently I'm just taking a break from water purification because I'm doing postdoc at MIT, and on my current group, we're using polymers to capture the carbon dioxide in the air. So it's quite
Okay.
different. I mean, it's different because it's different, but it's very similar, because you're capturing water in the air. And also, I mean, the air has carbon dioxide as well, which is also a global challenge is that, the global warming,
Definitely.
we want the temperature to keep going up and the sea levels decrease and all this, extreme weather and other climate changes. And also, I mean, the water resource can be affected by the climate changes. So I wanted to take this chance to learn from my current group working on the carbon capture, yeah, with using polymers.
That sounds awesome. And I've researched carbon capture and storage with these mechanical fans that actually then blow or suck air from the atmosphere through filters and so on. But are you suggesting here that that would be a similar polymer type of structure? Does it passively actually capture the carbon, or does air need to be blown through some type of filter in this case?
I think right now I'm actually working on two projects. One is like passively we're making a polymer, like a gel that can just sit there and then absorb the carbon dioxide in the air. And then we also, also working on some electro swing carbon capture, which will provide the electricity and with the redox reactive polymers. So you oxidize it and reduce it. So when you reduce it, you absorb the carbon dioxide, and then when you oxidize it, you release the carbon dioxide. It's a very, and I mean, so far it's very energy efficient and it's a clean. It's a clean. You don't produce waste for that.
Sounds very promising. You're clearly doing great work. And in general, I was doing background research for this interview, and I found on Google Scholar and numerous other resources regarding your research that you've already been involved in quite a few research papers, close to 30, if I'm counting right. Is that the case?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those had over 3,500 citations. So definitely seems like you've been active in your in your
Thank you.
career, science career. That sounds very great. Okay, and also we had some viewer questions, and one was regarding, would using this technology on large scale in arid areas potentially make the air more drier, say the Mojave Desert with around 15 to 30% air humidity? Is this a practical implication that this type of super-absorbent gels would have, or do you consider it a real-life problem? Is the scale that small that it doesn't really affect the air humidity of the atmosphere?
Oh, I think it won't affect the atomic humidity at all, because
Yeah,
everything is in a cycle. Those
understandably.
those devices won't have a huge effect on the atmosphere,
Yes.
humidity. Yeah, really
So the
not.
scale is just so small compared to what the atmosphere scale and
Wow.
the air humidity is. Okay, then we just had a couple of viewers who wanted to ask about that, so I wanted to relay the question. Okay,
I mean, if you have a huge one in the room, that will definitely affect. But if you put it outside, that's not gonna.
exactly, yeah. So Nancy, with my background research, I also noticed that you were awarded the MRS Graduate Student Award in 2020 for Best Materials Science Graduate Research. Congratulations on that. How did you feel about the award, and did it impact your research career later on?
So I think the MRS award is definitely an encouraging recognition to me, and then I was definitely encouraged to continue work on the materials innovation for the field of water sustainability.
And in general, do you feel that awards and validation feel necessary to be able to receive funding for your research? Are you getting external funding outside the MIT, or how does that work in your domain?
I guess the answer can be different for different people, but I think the awards really help people to realize the significant, um, help people to realize the significance of research, and then which will be helpful to receive new fundings from, all like industry and also government.
And could you tell the audience a bit about MIT as a research university in general? How does it feel to be a researcher at MIT?
So MIT is a really good place for conducting research and also the career development. I like the chemical engineering department. It's holding the research seminars almost every week. So, you can meet talented researchers from all over the world and then get updated with the latest research outcomes. And then also, faculties and the senior postdoc will share their experience and offer suggestions for early career researchers. So those activities are very helpful, and then it's a really great environment to conducting research and also develop the career. Say that for me, like I wanted to apply for faculty positions in the United States, so it really helped me from colleagues and early career professors to provide their advices, and they sometimes it's I think it's a plus to be here with you're meeting with all this talented people. It's definitely different from other other places. You're working by yourself, and then there's not a lot of people to communicate with.
In terms of mentoring and peer support and so on. Yeah, sounds great for your work. And lastly, anything you would like to share about science or technology that you think can improve people's lives, that you would like the audience to know about science?
What I wanted to say, the most important is, science is just everywhere. It's coming from our daily lives. Say, for example, the hydrogels are making. So what are hydrogels? They're polymer networks, but they're also from our daily lives. If you think about the baby diapers and contact lenses, they're all hydrogels. So, but construct or design in a different way to have a different applications. So every time that when you see things, you just have to ask why, and then it will lead to many different and also exciting things that you will never know, but once you did, you will find it's fascinating.
Exactly. Yeah. You
But
never
now,
know what kind of like a new application of something that
uh-huh,
could be familiar in a totally other context can be.
yes.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for the interview. I
Thank
really enjoyed discussing your research work, and hopefully
thank
you
you.
can come back to the show at some time with your other work with absorbing carbon dioxide, right?
Carbon dioxide, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That concludes the second Future Here interview. Thanks for tuning in. As always, remember to subscribe to the Future Here channel to hear more about the upcoming interviews, which will cover wind energy and quantum computing, to name a few. For now, bye.